Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspirenation, along with
CJ Liu from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Woohoo! If you've ever wanted more peace, freedom, and ease in your life, or at least a step back from the chaos, then do we have the Power of Letting Go show for you. Today we'll talk about letting go on a physical level, an emotional level, a familial level, and everywhere in between. What it looks like, how to do it, and what it certainly does not mean to do. Sorry, donuts. Plus, we'll talk about transitions, Blue Devil days and bonging, moving miracles, boxing mayhem, maintaining the shrine, the importance of throwing yourself out, doors that is, and what can happen to your Honda when it's left out in the rain.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine.
Woohoo!
Oh, wow. So you're going through a lot. What happened to your Honda?
Oh, poor Honda. So we got her fixed up, and we were getting her ready for our new registration on the vehicle before we bring her down to North Carolina and you know, back where her Blue Devil sticker or Duke sticker can shine. And I had new plates for her, and I had to bring her in for a what do you call it? Emissions safety check, all that good stuff. And I go to get into the car, and I'm like, it smells a little bit froggy in here.
Froggy?
Froggy. And I close the front door. I go to get something out of the back door. I open the door. I look down. And there's at least an inch, if not an inch and a half, of standing water where your feet go in the back seat.
Oh my gosh. What?
I know. Apparently, and some
How does this even happen?
and some toadstools in the front. But apparently, the best guess, there are two possibilities. One, 2002 Honda Accord. One, there are little hoses that go down from the sunroof, go down through the frame and out the bottom of the car so that water doesn't come in from the sunroof, even with the seal.
Yes,
and one of the hoses at about knee height may have popped off behind the trim and leaked water because it came onto the front wheel well, or the front foot well, and then migrated to the back. The other possibility is a hose by your windshield wipers that runs down and out also, that popped loose. Oh, wow. So I got the car registered. She's driving great, but I have to keep the windows open. This is just ridiculous as I say it, but I love my car. I have to keep the windows open when she's parked and not raining plastic tarp off of the roof at the moment because we have to rip out the interior now to find this hose leak.
Oh, no.
And so we're questioning, we're moving. We've got 1,000 different things. Now is not the time to be thinking about car.
Oh God! But you need a car to drive down there.
So no, she's getting towed. So towed. Jessica has her little Suzuki SX4. We use that for book tour.
Right.
Most awesome, reliable thing in the world. This is getting towed down behind the moving truck that I'm renting. So we'll deal with it another day. But it certainly was a little monkey to throw in the wrench of our moving situation. No complaints, just interesting information, and it tugs it on me on so many different directions. There's the frugal but not cheap Michael who says, I like to live well below my means and put things back into the business and into our future, so I don't need a new car right now. Also, as we're thinking about kids and things of that sort, there's also the part that says, well, it's important to respect yourself, and if your car smells froggy and toadstooly, particularly when you've had a wife that has struggled with mold in the past.
Oh, right. Oh, that's true.
So we'll get to figure that out when we're down in North Carolina. But most importantly, we are going down to North Carolina. We manifested a miracle.
What happened?
So we got, and I'll give you the short version because if everybody wants to hear the long version, listen to Jessica's interview last week and we talk all about it. But I was making a slideshow presentation for our last group coaching class for a little while last Thursday evening. And I added in a slide at the end that said, Emerald Isle, our story, ... And it was going to be about the teaching of the day was about trust and faith and how you put it out there and things will appear. And we turned down our backup home, which was about 20 minutes away in the woods. Didn't feel quite right. Not bad, but didn't feel right to me, and not I kept getting an automatic writing every day. You will be near the beach. You'll be walking on the beach every day. This will be the place by the beach for you to finish your book. Beach, 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 beach. So I turned down the place in the woods. And I'm going, wow, we've got a moving vehicle reservation. Everything's coming together. We're boxing up the world. We don't know where we're going.
Wow.
And I said, but it's going to come. I said, we're teaching this stuff. We share it every day on the air. It's going to appear. And I truly believed it, even after there were, a couple moments where I'm going, ooh, this is getting interesting. But as I went through my automatic writing process and I just hear it more clearly, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm like, all right, I believe it. It's going to happen. So I put that slide together that said Emerald Isle, which is in North Carolina, our story, ... Jessica comes into the studio right after I make the slide. She's got the phone for me. It's a realtor saying that a place has come up for rent 1 block from where we're moving in September.
Oh my
gosh! 1 block, same neighborhood, backs up on water, on a lagoon. It is like the miracle place. Do we want it?
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I mean,
wow.
so we've been talking for what, close to a year about this cosmic game of chicken of a move, where's the move? And I said, we're not going to drive the ship. I don't know where it's going to be. I know we're moving. I know that clock is ticking. We thought maybe it was last fall, then the winter. It turns out it's approximately now. But I knew this was not going to be a game ahead. This had to be heart, a co-creation with us and the universe.
Wow. That is unbelievable. Okay, so you're going to be leaving on May 7th, you said?
Yeah, it looks like we were going to leave May 3rd. We're going to rent the truck May 1st. Automatic writing was say wait till May 8th. May 7th is approximately the 8th. And I'm really enjoying the giving back process right now of helping the in-laws with their move. And since they did get they borrowed from an uncle a moving truck, which has been in the driveway for weeks, I'm like, rather than hire professional movers, Jessica and I have been working out. She joked on the show last week. She's like, we've been training for 2 years straight for this. Let us do that move. And so we're going to stay an extra few days, help them get moved, and also allows us to drive down on a Sunday rather than a weekday. And it turns out you'd have New York City traffic, Philly traffic, Baltimore traffic, DC traffic. So just the weekend makes more sense.
Right. Wow. Okay. So what's the boxing mayhem that you're experiencing right now?
Well, boxes have been everywhere. And the studio I managed to get cleared out 2 days ago, right before my father-in-law said, there's a storage closet behind the studio. Would you mind taking everything out of the storage closet? And it all migrated into the studio. And this morning, I've stayed rather grounded through this process. But this morning I was like, I was reading, and part of it was precipitated by this beautiful book here that you may know as well, the Everything Answer book, the Amit Goswami, Dr. Amit Goswami book.
Oh, right, yes.
And
What's that book about? What's the book about?
Oh, it's about everything. from a quantum physics and quantum science point of view. It's about consciousness, and it is just such an amazing book. But I needed to do a deep dive, and I've got
very
really
complicated
good at this
stuff. Like, I've read his stuff before, and it's one of those things that you read it and you reread it and you're like, what? And then you read it again and you're like, what? Quantum non-local what?
Yes, you strap in, you put the roller coaster harness over you, you go ka-dunk, boom, and then you go whoosh, and you go into it, and you don't come up until you need air,
Exactly.
and then you dive right back in, and with boxes in the room and stuff everywhere, I was like, I just can't, and so Jessica got out of the studio what she could. I took about an hour. The place is relatively spotless now. I needed it to be a shrine, a sanctuary in order for me to do my work. And that it really talks about the importance of your environment. Because once the environment got really peaceful, then it all clicked and it made sense and it flowed. had I not done that, and the interview took place only an hour ago, had I not done that, that interview would have been as crazy and chaotic as this studio was this morning.
Oh, I see. So it was before so you had the stuff in the storage unit that your in-law said, "Can you please move this out?" You moved it into your current where you're filming the show right now.
So
and then
there's a storage room behind the studio, and they said, "Can you take everything out of the storage room so that we can have it downstairs and sort through it?" I took all of it out, but not all of it fit downstairs. It only made it as far as the studio. So the studio was knee or waist deep in boxes and plastic bags from 20 or 30 or more years old, and suitcases. And
was it your stuff or was it your in-law stuff?
In-law stuff, mainly in-law stuff.
Gosh.
Some of it, though, was Jessica's stuff from childhood that was put in that closet. So we had to make sure that was sorted separately. So because that's precious, she needs to go through each of those things. But there was a point at which my studio was no longer a studio. And for this show to sound even semi-pro, you need a good, quiet environment. Because what is in your environment will come out on the mic.
Been filled like moving boxes from one place and sorting and like, okay, this is Jessica's box, this is the in-laws box. Like, please get it out of my studio. Oh my gosh.
In the most kind, gentle, easy, good way. And I've actually been enjoying the process. I don't have to go into the detail that Jessica does. So when I say I'm enjoying the process, I'm not having to do the really hard work. But the lifting I've been enjoying, and it is an opportunity because we've lived here for several years. It's what it took to get Jessica back on her feet. And so finally it's like an opportunity for me to give back. And I'm really enjoying that. I'm enjoying this part of the process.
Yeah, you mean giving back like the moving and like helping the in-laws?
Yeah.
Got it.
And packing up what I can and taking it out to the truck. And a couple mornings ago, I was like in my Superman mode. Everybody's still asleep. I loaded up the truck. I drove it over. I emptied the truck. I came back. Ain't nothing but a thing.
Yeah. Nice. Wow. So how are you staying? You said how to stay peaceful. What was your promise? How to stay peaceful and calm?
Yeah, it's been if you've ever wanted more peace, freedom, and ease in your life.
Peace, freedom, and ease. Okay.
And it's been the power of letting go. And so what that's meant is really letting go of how I expect things to unfold, of how my day looks, I'm the early sleep guy, so I can get up early and do my whole process. And there have been several nights within the last week where I've been to bed at 11 or later. So letting go of anything and everything. I love getting to the gym every morning, but maybe my gym is carrying boxes now. Or maybe because I got to bed after 11 o'clock last night, there was no gym this morning. Instead, it was mental gymnastics of Dr. Amit Goswami's book. And I love him, and the interview went great, and I love him. He's one of my heroes. I love him, I love him, I love him, and I'm a quantum physics geek at heart. You are? I groove on this stuff. Don't ask me to do the math. Maybe if I took the time to figure it out.
Right.
But I really, truly love this stuff, and love how science and spirituality at the end of the day are the same thing. And to me, that is the coolest thing in the world. So, But
have you interviewed Judy Currivan?
I haven't.
Oh, she's a quantum physicist from Oxford University, and she is like, I don't know, like a personification of like a little leprechaun. I don't know how to describe it.
Cool.
She's totally delightful, and she'll explain quantum physics like, oh, honey, it's like when you have a teacup, and the teacup falls. Like, she's so unbelievably charming and sweet and dear. And she's talking about quantum physics and, like, tea. She'll take the most complex subject. Because, seriously, when I read that stuff on quantum physics, I sort of go into I really wasn't good in science at school, and now I'm reading his stuff, and I can't read it. I just don't know what's going on. Like, I go into some weird space. And I started reading her book, and I was like, okay, this is one of those books. I just can't even read this book. And so I just skimmed it really quickly. I just looked at the introduction, and I skimmed through like the first sentence of each paragraph to kind of get the gist of what the book was about. And then I I interviewed her. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I try. I just can't. So you're gonna have to break this down as if I'm a moron. And she broke it down in the most charming way. But if you're into quantum physics, she has been studying. It was really interesting. She was 2 or 3 years old when she started hearing voices from angels, and she couldn't figure out like what is happening. And so she was trying to reconcile her experience of these other realities with, the everyday reality. And so that's why she studied physics at Oxford, and has had a very fascinating path. Like she studied physics, and then she was in business and doing international business for banking. Like she just had a really interesting
Cool. Yeah.
path, but I highly recommend her.
Over time, would love to do that. I tend to dive into that world and then pull back because I don't want to go too much head. And,
Right.
and that's the challenge is we're talking heart when we're talking consciousness, but we're talking heart from a head point of view.
Yeah.
And just like this morning with all the boxes in here, I certainly hit at least once or twice this morning where I'm going, too much, too much. Pull out, quick, pull out.
Okay, so how have you been able to maintain peace throughout all of this? I know that when we talked a couple weeks ago, you were doing a lot of like tapping and, gratitude practice. How have you been able to stay calm throughout all of this?
Tapping's helped. My coaching has just been on a very, very special level. I feel like it's gotten to a whole new level of deep dive and getting out of my own way. And it's been really special. So that's been incredibly
Feeding you, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, without tooting my horn, it's cool to watch and see what happens, CJ.
Yeah.
And so I've really been, that's been a rock for me during this time. I've been, like I said, throwing myself out, like, before Amit's interview. I'm like, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do for the interview. And I've only got a little time. Throw myself out, run around the block. Just get myself outside no matter
Do you
what.
like literally run around the block, or you go for a run for like a 2-mile run or 3-mile run?
It was just about 2 miles, but it's actually just a big blocky thing that I do. I guess it is a running joke with Jessica from when I was in Boulder. I'd say go around the block, and it could be 7 or 8 hours later. I'm coming back. Like Dean Karnazes, hi. But but this was like 1.8, 2 miles, and it's literally start one direction around the block, come back the other. But that's helped ground me, and really the biggest theme, and it's the theme of today, of just letting go. If I don't have attachment to how things are going to look, how they're going to turn out, what the process is and involved, if I just have faith that, okay, today you see Everest of boxes and tomorrow it'll be a little less and a little less, then I've been able to stay pretty relaxed through the process. Actually really relaxed through the process. Part of it may be that my philosophy of taking on a mountain is one step at a time. So, for instance, my father-in-law said he had over a moving company doing an estimate last week, and they seemed pretty shady would be an understatement. and I'm like, get these guys out of here. Like, eek! And I'm like, you got a moving truck in the driveway. Why don't you move things? And he's like, it's too much. And I'm like, the truck's right there. I'm like, you're going to have to box up everything anyway. Why don't we just take a little bit at a time? Every day I'll make a trip over, just a few boxes at a time, and you'll be through this lickety-split. And that's my philosophy, is you just take tiny chips away at things, and the incredibly intimidating suddenly become incredibly manageable. And that's what we've been doing, and it's working.
That's what my mom did. My mom's 80. And she said, I said, so what you're going to move? And she, like, I don't even, like, my mom is very independent. So one day I'm like, hey, how are you doing? She's like, oh, great. I bought an apartment in a building next to mine, and I've moved into it. I'm like, hello?
Stealth move.
Yeah. And what she would do is she would take, every day, she would take, 10 things over there. And by the end of the week, she had moved. I'm like, my 80-year-old mom was like taking things on her office chair, and she put like her TV on it and like roll it over. And then
this is so cool.
Yeah. And I think finally when it came to like her couch. I think she had to hire someone, but it was just like one couch and like a couple of small wooden items, and then but she'd taken everything else out. And because she moved it individually, she didn't have to pack it in boxes. So she kind of like rolled it over and knew where it was going to go and just kept on doing that over and over again. And it was little, small steps, it resulted in this Herculean effort, for like an 80-year-old mom moving stuff around.
Go mom.
I know. My mom's pretty impressive. She used to do stuff like that all the time. She would say, she'd ask my dad, she'd ask Dave, can you move something, blah, 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 blah. And he would drag his feet and then finally I'd wake up the next morning and it was moved. I'm like, how did you do it? And she's like, I did it. Like, I don't even know, like a gigantic bookshelf. And she's like 5 feet too. And she would I don't even know how, like she'd find some way to like jerry rig the whole thing by putting it on wheels or moving it 2 inches at a time. And like, she would just move, like she would move all the furniture around in her house because she was really into, I don't know if she was into feng shui. She was really into like always rearranging the house. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when she watched her kids when we were babysitting, we'd come home and like the house would be rearranged.
Wow.
Or she'd buy a chair. Like okay. She's like, you needed a chair, so I just bought a chair.
As a philosophy, we've been doing something like that with the show, which has been really cool over the last couple of years, which is we had no idea how to run a show or do any of this stuff. And we had the no budget rather than the shoestring budget. So it was we'll have to, just like your mom's going, I'll move it. I'll find a way.
Right.
A lot of stuff that we did in building the show has been we'll find a way. Right. And it comes back to trust and faith. The more that you find a way, the stronger that muscle gets, and the more you're able to find a way or have the courage to find a way for something more difficult, like pulling off the 80-year-old move.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for when you're 80 years old to move out of your place. Or even for when like you're at the end of August, right? You're going to move all the stuff a block over, so you could just every day, a block, a little bit at a time, and then maybe you don't have to put stuff in boxes. You move the step of putting it in boxes, unpacking it from boxes, breaking down the boxes by just rolling it over.
And I'm a minimalist at heart. This one has kind of tested me because the more stuff that I'm like, well, we don't need that. All of a sudden, our in-law gifts us something else that you can't. Oh my God, that you can't live without.
You mean if stuff like, are they gifting you stuff that they don't want,
that they can't? They don't have room for in their new place. That's really good things, and we're going, well, yeah, okay, we could use that, But then I'm scratching my head going 16-foot truck, 24-foot truck. Oh, there's another item. 16-foot truck, right. 24. Oh, there's another item. And I'm grateful. It's coming from a place of gratitude, but I'm also, my spatial relations with Tetris keep getting tighter and tighter.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to like stack things on top of each other.
Which brings up, while I'm a minimalist at heart and like to be frugal about things, I went over when I heard they were having a sale or had them in stock at Costco. I bought a whole bunch of clear plastic bins with lids on them.
Great. Yeah,
because if you're moving, it's 3 moves we get to make in the next 11 months. So we're moving down to check out the to get where I know I need to write. Then we're going to move in a block later to a place that's just the most amazing miracle place where we're going to be through next spring. And then it's time to buy a home and settle down or move on to someplace else. So that'll be 3 moves in the next year. So rather than pack everything in cardboard where I can't see what it is, I can't get access to it, and the things will fall apart 3 moves later, I'm, even though I'm like also eco-friendly. So what you're hearing is a tinge of guilt, CJ, as I'm thinking of air quality and producing things with plastic.
Oh, but you know what? Those plastic bins, we still have them. Like you'll end up using those for the rest of your life because there'll be something that like, you'll have baby stuff that you'll want to put away, and like, what do? And you don't want to put it in a box, and you'll use them. We actually still use them, so don't worry. You'll use those plastic bins. We've had ours for probably the last 15 years, and we still reuse them. So those are investments. Think of it that way.
Thank you. And so we went investment crazy at Costco this weekend.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking, so we went to North Carolina, we went to Washington, D.C.,
Hmm.
and started looking for colleges for my younger son, which is just almost exhausting and unbelievable that I'm starting the whole cycle all over again.
Didn't
But
you
we
have a
are.
breather of like a week?
No, not really. So, and then we went to Washington, D.C., and then we drove down to North Carolina. So we're doing the drive that you're going to be doing
Hmm.
in the next couple weeks. First of all, it's a beautiful drive. Second of all, North Carolina is beautiful. It's knocked down, drag out, just gorgeous. And I didn't, when you're in college, you're just in your own little world, worried about whatever, like stupid stuff. But I was in DC and thought, this is gorgeous. Or sorry, in North Carolina, and it was like the brightest green, trees surrounding everything, like these beautiful trees, the light. It was sunny, and I think I told you, we've had 10 days of sun, maybe 12 now, at this juncture since October in Seattle. It's
Wow.
been gray and raining, and not like the typical drizzle Seattle rain, like downpouring, raining, which is nice at night because you can hear the water pitter
Hmm.
patter on the windows. But it's just been just a gosh awful. It's just been an awful, awful winter and kind of a marginal spring. So being in Raleigh, Durham, it was 80 degrees,
Yeah.
between 70 and 80 degrees. It was just gorgeous. And I thought, it's so weird that Michael B., of all the places that you could go, right, that you would be in North Carolina, and my son is going to be in North Carolina. So I'm going to be visiting North Carolina at least a few times. Yeah. I
We'll
think you're
have a
pretty
guest
far
room.
away from Raleigh. Yeah. I think you're pretty far away from Raleigh, Durham, but still, I mean, don't you think it's strange that of all the different places, and that my son could have gone, that he's choosing to be in Durham, North Carolina? I just find that kind of, I don't know, some synchronicity with that. But it was beautiful. It's such a beautiful area. And, when I first went to Duke, my background is from New Jersey, like yourself, right?
Hmm.
So I was because you're from New Jersey, Pennsylvania. No,
Well, I'm actually originally from just
Massachusetts?
north of Boston.
Okay.
So I've
Okay.
had family down here, but I myself am closer to Gloucester, Mass. Actually, next to Salem, the Witch City, in a
Oh, I
town called
love that
Danvers,
town.
Massachusetts, is where I grew
I
up.
know where Danvers is. Okay, I love that area. So, yeah, so you go down south
Hmm.
when you're in high school, and you feel like, oh my gosh, things are so glacially slow. Everyone is slow. And when you're in high school, it's irritating. When you're now 50 years old, I'm going down, and, 54, and I'm going down, and it's like, this is so gracious. Like, everything is so relaxed. People are charming. They're completely friendly. It's just, it was, it's a completely different experience now as an older person going there. It's like, wow, it's really, and a friend of mine moved from Brooklyn, New York,
Hmm.
to be in Raleigh, Durham, which is now like just this hot spot with all these really cool things going on. And it's super affordable. Like, you can buy a house for like $100,000, right? Which you can't do in very many places. Um, so yeah, so he built a house in North Carolina, in Raleigh, Durham, and I said, it seems like this is a retreat center. Because he's like, yeah, it is, because it's the weather here is nice up until November. He said, I can go swimming in my pool until November. So November to February I can't, but otherwise the trees are green and I can go swimming because the weather is that nice. So anyways, that's all a high five for you, because you're kind of moving into the greatest area ever. I didn't notice it the first time,
Yeah.
but I definitely noticed it. So are you feeling, so for me, I'm feeling a little bit sad. I don't, and it's one of those things that, where you can kind of, you know that you're sad, but you're
Hmm.
not feeling anything, like you're kind of numbing out with like running around doing stuff. But then there's a part of you that's like, I think I'm sad, but I'm not even sure that I'm sad. Are you feeling any sadness at all, or are you just more excited because you're moving to your new place?
I've been trying to anchor the experience because I understand that even when things don't seem perfect at a place, and later on, you'll look back on those things nostalgically. And
Yeah.
so I've been trying to anchor in each moment as best as I can right now while things are moving quickly. The biggest thing has been to watch Jessica, who's had to go through all of her personal possessions, and just to understand how traumatic a move can be when, just on the best of situations, it can be traumatic when you have to go through your things from childhood.
Right, because
How
this is her childhood home, right?
This is her childhood home. So
Oh, wow.
she's lived here. You know, we came back for this couple-year period to get her healthy, but she had lived here for 18 years of her life. When she went to the
Wow.
Peace Corps, she came back here. Before Peace Corps, she came back here. So this is her rock, her island. And so to watch how tired she's gotten a lot lately, not because she's not strong, but because of the emotional pull of the experience of the move has been
Yeah.
huge. And I've been somewhat insulated from it. But again, when I get tired and notice I'm going down, I've had to just say, that's just part of this emotional process right now, and not worry about it. Now, running in the woods, that's my as weird as it is, I'm like, how many more times am I going to get to see you, Ella the tree, before I have to say goodbye to you? I'm like, oh, the nature, but there's a level of detachment in me, not of numbness, not of numbness. This is precious. This is special. This has been so incredible to be here. I am excited for that next move, but I also am not trying to rush the experience. Let it come when it comes, but just let go, let go, let go, breathe into it. Just as best I can. So I haven't been really sad or depressed, although I'm going to miss the in-laws a lot. And that's part of my giving back right now, is a realizing it's one of those things you never realize what you have until it's gone or close to gone.
You know, when we left, I think 2 weeks ago I talked to you, and they were going to tear down the garage maybe a week ago. And this Friday, when we were in Durham, North Carolina, they're going to tear down the garage. And I thought, thank goodness, because I just don't want to see that. I don't want to be here when they start ripping apart our house. And then we come back and we're like, oh, we couldn't do it because we didn't have the right equipment or whatever. So then on Monday, I was in a full day training where I was training a group of people for an entire day. I'm like, oh, good. Well, they're coming on Monday to tear down the place. And of course, they decided not to tear down the place because the guy had something else missing. So they couldn't tear down the place. So on Tuesday, I worked out and I came back home and I was there just as this gigantic truck was there. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm the only one in the house that's going to see this. And our garage, it's like a one-car garage, so it's not a gigantic garage. And this just big backhoe with this claw came and it's like, pa-boom, and knocked down, it was picking apart our whole garage as if it was just a drumstick chicken wing where it's like, and this garage that has been there for I don't even know how long, probably since the 1940s, because we have a really old bungalow house, or maybe 1990, it's a really old garage. Anyways, they pulled this garage apart in 10 minutes. It was obliterated, gone.
Talk about the Buddhist concept of impermanence here.
Yeah, it's how they those Buddhist sand. It was like that. It was there, and then it was. I turn around, and it's, because it's just this gigantic claw. It was gone, and it was probably less than 10 minutes. The whole thing, the structure was gone. About 2/3 of it was in the truck and pulling away. For
some reason, you were meant to witness this. It was part of your healing and your journey. You couldn't avoid it.
I was. So I was like, okay, I'm the only one that witnessed this of our family. So I saw that whole thing. And I was just astounded. I actually had a coaching call at that time, and I was like, I think I just have to delay this for half an hour.
Sorry, they're tearing down part of the house right now.
They tore that down. And then over the last couple of days, they've been digging a colossal hole because they have to dig a hole to pour the foundation. So there's a 5-foot hole that's dug in our backyard at this point. Next week they'll be doing the foundation. Then they're going to they took all the dirt out, and they're going to come back next week with the truck full of dirt and dump it back in after they pour the foundation. But it's just, oh my gosh, there's so much change. But you know what? I don't know if I'm numbed out or I don't know what I am. I'll tell you what's helped me, though, throughout this whole process. Here's my new favorite thing. Have you ever seen these? It's a tuning fork.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a weighted tuning fork. And I interviewed Eileen Day McCusack. And can you hear this on the thing?
Oh, wow.
This is tuned to the megahertz of ohm. And can you hear that on the mic?
Yep.
Okay, so you take this. It's like a EFT or acupuncture or anything like that. You just take it, and so for folks who are listening on the radio, it's like a tuning fork that you'd use in music, except it's used for healing purposes. So there's a big U, and on the bottom is a point, and you take the point,
like
and
acupressure.
Yeah, and you put it on the various points, and it's like it vibrates. You put it on a bone in particular, and it vibrates throughout your whole brain cavity. And it knocks out, like, if you have any stuck energy, and this woman does fascinating work. She works, so most people traditionally with healing, they work on doing, like, they hit the pressure points, and you put it on a vibrating point like a skull, or your skull, or your, like, your jaw, or, your clavicle. You can go to all the chakras. What she does is she looks at the 6-foot auric field around someone, and when she hits, not with a weighted one, but with an unweighted, when you hit like a certain spot, it actually makes a different noise, or it vibrates differently. And that's how she knows that there's stuck energy. And then she moves the energy around, like she stays, just like if I were to stay in this one spot for a couple of minutes, she would do that in the spot that has stuck energy. And she moves it, and then she pulls that energy to the chakra, and it, like, integrates and cleanses it out. But she said she's done this whole map where, things on the right side, I don't know if I've got the map correctly, but let's say theoretically, like, things on the right side are all things related to issues with your mom. Things on your left side are things related to your dad. Areas around the throat are, like, words not spoken, or whatever. Every single thing she's mapped over the hundreds of people that she's worked with this sound healing. And so she actually is treating kind of issues related to stuck energy, related to psyche stuff. You know what I mean? Like traumatic events that have happened using this thing. So this is my new favorite thing. So in preparation for
how much does something like that cost?
She recommends, she sells these on her website because this one's aluminum. This one's $50. I've seen them as low as $30. What she said is that if you do a lot, like she does, that's what her profession is, the sound healing. So she has one on her website that I think is $50, and she said that she had it designed by a manufacturer because she was going through these like crazy because she does so much healing that the aluminum would crack, or it would get warped, which would actually affect the overall sound. So you get two things. You get a hockey puck where it's called the striker, and then you have like a weighted and unweighted. The weighted one, which is the one with these little barrels on the top.
Look like two drums on the top of the tuning fork.
Drums, yeah. Those actually are used to put on your body because there's so much vibration that you can feel it in your body. Whereas the ones that don't have these on here are used where you can literally, she would hit a point and be like, "Gong!" Like you could literally hear the disturbance in the force.
Wow.
When she hit those spots. So anyways, I've been bonging a lot.
So that's what you meant by bonging.
I've been bonging.
I thought this may have to do with the kids in college bonging.
No, I've been bonging this thing a lot. And you know what? It's really interesting because you had talked about how do you let go physically, mentally, energetically. Yeah. And I've been trying this one form of massage. Like it really hurts so badly. And what the person does is he squeezes the muscles until the muscle stops holding in a certain pattern and it just lets go. It lets go of the holding pattern, and it kind of tells your central nervous system, like, don't hold this anymore, because I'm going to because if you do, I'm going to come back next week and squeeze hard again and you'll be crying. So he's been doing that. And I still can't, I have not been able to turn my head fully to 90 degrees this way. And I've just hit a point where I'm like, I don't know. I think I've been doing this really painful massage, but I think maybe this was brought to me for a reason to end this kind of physical pain through a really gentle, this is really gentle, it doesn't hurt at all. It's just, it really just feels like your head is just rattled in a cage, but in the most positive way possible. You've just had a really deep meditation. So I've been doing this bonging thing, and I'm actually thinking about using it for this neck pain that I have that I got from a car accident that has just been plaguing me for the last couple of years, and hoping that I can heal this thing. So I'll have to report back to you with what I find through doing this, but this is my new high recommend item. And if you ever want to talk to Eileen Day Mokusek, she's really interesting. There are a whole bunch of people who do sound healing, but I particularly like her because I have an interview on my radio show if you want to take a look at it. I will definitely check it out. So that's my bonging. And everything is ending. Just like you, it's so interesting that we're going through the kind of seeing, literally, hopefully this physical manifestations of things are letting go, either through gently changing the energetic pattern or having this guy beat the crap out of me. every on a kinder side of things, and I've picked up my automatic writing. I'm spending more time right now trying to understand myself through this process. And that's been extremely helpful. So when I get those emotional moments, which I've got to think that these massages are bringing up emotions for you. It has to be that going into a sacred writing space and asking what you need to know and writing down what comes to you, the stream of consciousness at this time, probably be really, really helpful and healing. I know it's been helping me to figure out what's on the inside that I even need to let go of, and to get reassurance from myself. I'm supercharged about getting this book out now, and it's a book on automatic writing. But that's Jessica's like, we can do this when we get down there, and we can do that, and it's going to be this nature playground. We're going to summer camp. We're going to live at summer camp, and it's totally cool. And she's now extremely excited about trying kiteboarding. And it turns out it's God's gift to kiteboarding. There's this area that the sound that's 4 miles wide, 2 miles wide, and 4 miles across, where the water, it's behind the island, so it's ocean water, but there aren't the waves. It's like glass in the morning, and it's only waist deep. So cool. You can put your feet down and never get into trouble while you're kiteboarding. So she wants to learn that. She's like, will you learn that with me? I'm like, I will after I get this book out, because I am chomping at the bit. So I'm like, as soon as we get down there, it's book. When we get down there, it's book. Am I writing now? Yes. But I'm like, focused. So I'll play a lot, and I'm excited for that. But maybe that's it. Having that one thing, knowing what your one thing is that's most important to you, even through the chaos and through the move, gives you kind of that. It's like you're trying to get through the forest or something at night. If you can just focus on that one spot of light and keep that in your field of vision and hone in on that, you get through even in the dark. I've got that. It's my book right now, and I've got that centered in my sights and staying focused on it. It's funny because I was just thinking about something very similar in my context, because I'm actually much like you're like going into like V2 or 3 of your life, right? I'm going into V4 of my life, right? Where it's like letting go of the, being a parent and moving into, all of a sudden it's my husband and myself, empty nesters. And it's so interesting because I'm trying to do the recapitulation, which in the Toltecs about letting go of appreciating and understanding what was, and then taking the things that you want to carry on with you in V4 of your life and moving forward. And so I've been thinking about V4 of my life for the last 2 years. And it's over such a long period of time that I've forgotten the overall vision, which was, it's not even like a super, grand vision. It's basically what I really want in this chapter of my life is fun, freedom, and meaning. Those are the only three things that I don't care whatever the universe brings me. If my desires mean anything, those are the things that I would really like is fun, freedom, and meaning. And it's funny because I can look back at like what happens when you're about leaving the juncture of where you are. I don't know what is happening for me. I don't know if it's happening for you, but I'm moving up and I can look at this whole thing from a meta perspective, and I see this, my whole last 20 years in a completely different light.
Oh, yeah.
And in a really beautiful light where I can say, wow, so at Microsoft, I was just by myself. You have this ultimate freedom, and most of your energy is poured into work because that's, in those years in your 30s, that's what you do. You work and you build your career, and then all of a sudden you have kids and all that personal. No offense, because this is happening for you, but a lot of the personal freedom that you have, a lot of that goes away. I mean, just because most of your energy is devoted towards creating structure and a place of safety and comfort for your children. And that means giving up a lot of things that you used to do so that you can provide for them. And then what happens, though, is at the very end, like I'm at the end of that juncture, and I'm looking and saying, wow, like I'm free, but I don't even sense myself as being free anymore because I've had like 20 years of programming of not being free to do anything I want. And that's the part that's actually getting me really excited and scared. It's like, when in the movies they show the prisoner leaving the, not them being a parent in prison.
I get
like
what you're saying, though. I get it. Dan
But yeah.
Aykroyd leaving prison, being picked up by John Belushi.
Yeah, but they get out of prison, and then those prisoners are confused what to do with their lives because they've everything has been structured, planned, organized, and they've had no personal freedom, and now they're given like the whole world of like things to do. And when I was doing automatic writing today, it's like, you know what? I like have forgotten things. Like I would like to take a cooking class, which I've never been able to do because, like, when am I going to be able to squeeze that in between carpool and driving a little, all these different things. So I'm like, wow, I can take a cooking class, or I can travel places, or I can go on a business trip that's gone for like a week. I could have done those in the past. I mean, for my personal choices, I just didn't feel right about doing that because I would be away from the family for too long. But now it's like this whole world of freedom and fun is opening up, and so I'm finally seeing like the bright, shiny object. I mean, I see all the stuff that makes me sad. Like I have my last moment of like not baggage, but like how you're packing your boxes and you're leaving. I'm not really leaving anywhere. I'm staying the same place, but in a lot of ways, I am moving on to a different chapter. So, I'm for the next couple weeks, I'm going to just take every video, every photo, every song that reminds me of my son Jaida's life, and I'm going to put it together in a video. And then that will be my last, okay, everything in closure, and kind of like looking at all these experiences over the last 18 years and saying, okay, this was an amazing experience. I have to say that I know some people choose not to have a child, but I can tell you that there's nothing more meaningful than being a parent, and you don't know that until it's ended. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you're running around doing like all these things for your kid, but then you get so much out of it, even though it feels like you're just like constantly a concierge running around for your child. You get so much out of it, and it's so meaningful because you get to see the world through your children's eyes, and you also get to experience the world all over again. And then you're seeing, like, when you were a little kid and you planted the seed and you saw it grow from a little Dixie cup, and it was so exciting. Well, it's like that times like a billion because you see your kid growing throughout, 18 years and changing. So it's super meaningful. And I think what happens is usually parents, they're not taking the time to think through all these things or noticing these things, but when you do, it's like it feels super rewarding and meaningful, and almost going to make me cry. So yeah, it's been fun to kind of take the meta perspective, and it's from automatic writing for me that I've actually discovered a lot of this stuff. So I definitely see that it's been worth it for sure to do that
Very,
right.
very cool. And I
Yeah.
like how you're anchoring it right now. This is exciting for you, CJ. It's obviously tearful and forget the sadness. It's just exciting.
It is sad because there's so many, our greatest priority, my husband and myself, has been our family. And so when that's shifting, a good portion of your ego, your energy, your sense of meaning is shifting. So it's a huge egoic shift in a lot of ways. And I don't think that in the whole empty nest, like they don't really explain that is happening. And I think if you're not that close to your kids, or you haven't spent that much time and energy, it's not as big of an impact. But if you have, it's like literally you feel like a chunk of your heart is being carved out and like walking out the door. So it's very sad, and it's very exciting, because when we went to Duke, I have to tell you that when I saw Jida there, he fit in. Like everything made sense. I could see him thriving there. It just everything about it felt right. He looked like all the other kids there. You know what I mean? Like he's like a clean cut kind of conservative kid, and all the other kids were clean cut conservative kids, And I even had like the same hairstyle, the same clothing. Like it's just, he looked like he fit in there, energetically fit in, physically he fit in, intellectually I think he fit in. So it was really exciting to see, his life beginning, and to see yours, like you're moving on to the next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like V1, right? You're V2 or V3, right? Moving to the next part of your life, about to have kids. And I'm walking away from that, and I'm V4. It's just kind of cool to see these three things happening kind of simultaneously, because it helps you see the bigger picture of life.
Yeah, and I think that having that understanding of the big picture is huge. That makes it's such a lesson. What you're describing is the term that comes to mind is mindful parenting.
I think that we have been, I can't say that we're mindful the whole time, but we're certainly trying. We're certainly trying.
And that's the best you can do.
Yeah, that is the best you can do.
So anything else you want to share or talk about on letting go yourself, or how we can do that through this process?
I just think actually taking the meta perspective has really helped, and kind of seeing the huge timeline that, like, sometimes when you just focus on the small picture versus the big picture, I think you can miss altogether kind of some of the magical things that are happening. So I think step back and look at the big picture during transition. Sometimes it's not as bad as you think. Sometimes there's a lot of exciting things, and depending on what perspective you take, it can be both, and it can numb out one and make you blind to the other. But anyway, so that's mine. How about yourself?
It's putting more pause between the notes again. It's getting into a proactive versus a reactive place. And when things seem to be spinning out of control, you say, I don't have time, that's when you don't have time not to take the time. If you catch yourself saying, I don't have time to step back, then you need to step back doubly so and doubly fast. Because you need to be able to get that meta perspective. You need to be able to step back, to plug into consciousness, to hear something other than the chatter of your brain during this time, both so that you can be present during the experience and you can make wise decisions. We can't make wise decisions in the blender. Had I said, I don't have time, I've got an interview coming up, I don't have time to clean the studio right now, then the interview, which I would have taken extra time to prepare for because instead I was cleaning a studio, wouldn't have gone quite so well because I hadn't taken that step back.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's you have to make time to get more time. I don't know how to describe it aside from when I read Lama Surya Das's book. He's like, when I'm really busy, that's when I know I need to meditate the most. And it's hard. Like, I have to tell you that my meditations have been the worst meditations over the last month than I've ever had. You too?
I'm raising my hand. I just laugh at him. I go, "Does this even count as meditation anymore?"
Yeah, like, I'm not sure what this is.
And
it
I'm
seems
like
a to-do list. But like, you made the time to make it happen, and I got to tell you, this is really helping. Like,
the
my
tuning
last couple
fork.
of meditations have really been helped a lot by just kind of like, it's almost like it's shaking. When someone takes a carpet and they shake it out of all the dust, it's kind of like that. This is what this is doing. So I highly recommend it. I would ship you one, except it feels like you're packing and all you need is a box.
Well, now we've just hit that point where in the beginning we had to pitch all the guests to be on the show, and now we get how do you describe it? It's now the pitches come to us. Is the long and short of it. So how do I let people know that I don't even know are going to be sending books where to send the books?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
because I don't think you can forward like UPS or something. So we're trying to figure out what that looks like. It's such a minor problem to have. But when you talk about shipping stuff in, that did occur to me a couple of days ago. I'm like, okay, you changed your address, but when the books are coming, and I'm like, well, we'll figure it out.
Well, each book comes with the publicist and the phone number. All you have to do is like call them up and saying, "Hey, we have a new address," and then it's just going to be a kind of for the next month. Probably you'll get some false ships, and then you'll figure it out.
It'll work. It'll all work out. I am so chill about this move, even when the stuff is moving fast. I feel so supported and protected, and there's no word strong enough than support during this time period. It doesn't mean I still don't have fears and worries and will this all work? What is it gonna look like? Is it blah 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 blah? But there's a level of supportedness that maybe has come out of this last few years and the trials that we've gone through and the magical manifestations that have just taken place. And thank you, Marianne, and thank you, Ellen. You know who you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But there's such a feeling of it's all going to work out and it's all going to be magical. And it's the Dane here expression, how does it get any better than this? And it's the expression that I teach with intention work of or something better. We want this or something better. And I think there's a lot of or something betterness coming if we let go of the attachment for it's got to look like X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, absolutely. Woohoo to that!
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Even a Honda filled with water can be how does it get any better than this?
Who knows what's going to happen to that Honda? You just never know.
No,
right?
you
Something
don't.
that seems like is a bad thing could be a good thing. You really don't know.
That's the last note that I'll leave it on, and it's a synchronous 444 here as I look at my clock, and I love those repeating numbers. I know 444.
Yes.
You're like eek,
Yes!
but I love it. It is. The universe is always happening through you and for you rather than to you. If you can step back and see that, then the parking ticket that you got, or the speeding ticket that you got, or the Honda that filled with water, almost any of these experiences, when viewed far enough back, because some of them are horrific, and I don't want to take away from the fact that tragedy is tragedy, there's no getting around it. But stepped back far enough, and tragedy could even be stepping back, as we were talking about with Amika Swami, lifetimes. But all of these experiences have something positive for us. And so you get a Honda that fills with water, and that will cause me to make one decision, which makes another decision, which I may or may not consciously know about this lifetime, but something special will come out of it. I've talked about a lot recently about rounding a bend in the French countryside, waved by a safety official into an oncoming car, and crack. Right. And
Right.
God is dead. There is no God. Well, thank God for that accident, because that brought me here today.
Yeah.
It's all happening
Absolutely.
for us, for us,
Right.
for us.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
On that note, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Liu.
saying, be well, have fun, let go in whatever transition you're in life, and shine bright. Woohoo!
I'm so glad that your meditations have been awful too. Somehow that's comforting to me.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!